Hello, welcome along to Sportsbet TV. This is Paul Alster here with you, and very much looking forward to what is one of the best weekends racing of the whole year on the flat. We've got the culmination of the St Leger fixture at Doncaster, and we've got Irish Champions weekend across at Leopardstown Saturday and the Curragh on Sunday. And I have tips for you at all those meetings, a total of 4 selections across the weekend, and all of them very good each way prices, a few very tasty prices amongst them. If you're discovering this channel for the first time, please press the subscribe button just below this screen, and then you'll be kept in touch with all my selections, which over the course of the last year and 3 or 4 months have produced a consistent profit, and we're looking forward to more of the same here this coming weekend. A quick word about the 3 selections as it turned out last weekend, because Sextant didn't run, unfortunately. Documenting, well, he went oh so close. I thought he was going to land the spoils. Just nabbed in the last 2 strides at Ascot. He was 17-2, finished second, so an each way profit there. I thought we were really unlucky with Passion Over, George Baker's runner. Unlucky not to get the place money at least, because she ran a really good race at Ascot before being quite badly hampered by the eventual winner, about 100 yards out, and Pat Cosgrave had to snatch up, and that loss of momentum meant that she eventually finished 5th, but only beaten a neck and a nose or something like that for 3rd. She would almost certainly have been placed otherwise, and that rather tilted the balance overall last weekend. The other selection, Summer Gand, well, he just wasn't away quick enough in the Sprint Cup, and that was his goose, truly cooked, although he did stay on late in the day, but never going to land a blow. Well, as I say, 4 selections for you this weekend, and it really is outstanding racing. I'll take you to the first call, which is at Leopardstown. Now, this is on Saturday in the 140, and what a way to start the weekend. The Group 1 Matron Stakes, absolute crackerjack of a race, this one, 13 runners. The going is forecast good, although rather like England, there's the possibility of some showers here and there during the weekend. Nobody knows quite if they are or are not going to hit. Well, Aidan O'Brien with a strong hand, as you would expect in an Irish Group 1 here. He's got the likely favourite, Mother Earth, who of course won the Quipco 1000 Guineas. She was 3rd in the Falmouth Stakes, and then she won the Prix Rothschild Group 1 last time out in France. So she is going to be a tough nut to crack. Empress Josephine also represents Aidan O'Brien, won the Irish 1000 Guineas in heavy ground, which seems to be a prerequisite for her to show her very best form. She's been a bit disappointing the last twice. And Aidan also runs a horse called Friendly, rated just 92, does appear to be in there as something of a pacemaker. Now, 12 months ago, Johnny Murta landed this race with Champs-Élysées, who had a wonderful season. She hasn't quite hit the same heights this term, and was rather disappointing for the first half of the season, but she did look as if she might be on her way back when second last time out to Aquarella, and that one reopposing. That was at the Curragh in a Group 3 last time out, so she could be coming back to form and may well run a decent race at decent odds. Champs-Élysées. Another good Irish trainer, Willie McCreary. Well, he saddles Epona Plays, who won a Group 2 at the Curragh last time, back in May. That was in heavy ground. She does seem to be at her best when there's quite a bit of give, and I'm concerned there might not be enough juice in the ground for her. And then you've got Pearls Galore for Paddy Toomey, who's got some very good fillies this season, Paddy Toomey. This one, a winner of 2 Group 3s this summer at 7 furlongs and 7.5 furlongs. So they are all really horses who are very much in the mix in this race. But my choice here is an outsider, and the name of the horse, the filly, is No Speak Alexander. She is trained by the excellent Jessica Harrington and is the mount of the equally excellent Shane Foley, both of whom have been in really good form of late. You may know, if you follow me on a week-to-week basis, that I broadcast regularly on the Irish racing, so I do keep quite a close eye on what's going over there. And Jessie Harrington, Shane Foley doing really well at the moment. Now, No Speak Alexander was a good juvenile last year. She began this season by winning at the Curragh. She took a Group 3 over 7 furlongs in comfortable fashion. And then she was only beaten a length when third in the Irish 1,000 guineas, having always been prominent in the race won by Empress Josephine. A very brave effort on really testing ground there. After that, she was travelling well most recently in the rear of the field in the pre-Rothschild that was won by Mother Earth. Now, she was starting to make what looked to be a very promising move from the rear of the field when she was absolutely broadsided by Primo Baccio, whose jockey saw half a gap and just went there without looking to see what was inside him. And he took poor old No Speak Alexander, literally took that one apart. She got going again in the closing stages to be beaten just over 6 lengths. And wasn't disgraced, but you have to think that had she got the clear run that appeared to be there when she started to improve, she would have had a chance of finishing at least in the frame over in France last time out. I think that this horse has got the ability to go really well, especially with the stable in form, the trip to suit. She's had a really nice 39-day break since that run in France. If there is any rain, it will be a bit of a bonus for her. The yard is absolutely flying, 12 wins in the last 14 days. And the other factor to bear in mind here, I know a lot of you like stats. Well, one stat here is that this has been a bad race for favourites, which is unusual for a Group 1, in that only one of the last 10 has won. So that is something that rather does count against Mother Earth, although she is definitely the one to beat. But I'm with No Speak Alexander as a value each way bet. And at the time of this recording, Friday early afternoon, she's 20 to 1 each way. And I expect that to be available on the day of the race for 4 places. So 20 to 1 each way, No Speak Alexander in the 140, the Group 1 Matron Stakes at Leopardstown. A really nice juicy price. Well, if you're interested in sort of shorter prices, while I remember, I've been tipping of late at freebets.com. Freebets.com is the name of the channel on YouTube. And there I'm looking more at horses to the 4 of the markets. And we've had a pretty good run of things over there. And I'm giving 4 selections there this weekend, including at all the big meetings. So do check that out if you're interested in horses that are shorter prices and more to the head of the market. But back here at Sportsbet and to my second selection Saturday. Now, no sooner will they have crossed the line over at Leopardstown than they'll be going in at Doncaster on Saturday at 1:45. And that is for the Portland Handicap. It is a real cavalry charge, 22 runners over the unusual trip, the intermediate trip of 5.5 furlongs. Now, as ever in these handicap sprints, loads of them will have a chance. They're betting around 6 to 1 the field last time I had a gander. And Hurricane Ivor is the horse that's generally favourite for William Haggas. He was a good third, running on very strongly after a bit of an awkward start at York over 5 furlongs last time behind the superb Copper Knight. Every chance that he's going to be in the mix here, as too will be Copper Knight, who's also taking his chance. Now, just last Saturday, I tipped Copper Knight over at Free Bets, and he got nabbed on the line at 8 to 1 by Mondamedge in the sprint. Well, Mondamedge is back. He's gone up £3 for that Haydock win, in which he beat Copper Knight, who of course is better off. Also in the race was Jawala, who was 4th, and Stone of Destiny, who was 5th. And there shouldn't be a whole lot between that group once again. I'll come back to that race. Now, Just Another Bottle has really found his form of late, winning the Great St Wilfrid Handicap at Ripon, and then second in the listed Beverly Bullet last time out. He's gone up in the weights, but he really is on a rich vein of form and can't be dismissed. You've got Digital, who's an interesting runner for Kevin Ryan. He was a close second at York over 5 furlongs last time out. And remember Mr. Wagyu winning the Stewart Sprint at Goodwood on his penultimate start. Return to that kind of form would see him in the mix too. But I'm taking you back to that race at Haydock last Saturday, and the 5th horse is of interest for me. And here's the selection here. He's called Stone of Destiny, trained by Andrew Balding and the mount of Sylvester de Souza, the former champion jockey. And significantly, Stone of Destiny won this race last year. So this 5.5 furlong suited him absolutely to a T. He won it off a mark of 93 when he beat the excellent old-timer Dancino. Now, he's had 8 runs so far this season. He's without a win, but he's run some very good races in defeat, and the handicapper has only, in the last couple of starts, given him a little bit of respite. You may recall him finishing 3rd in the Epsom Dash on Derby Day. He then ran an absolute cracker when stepped up to the Group 1 King's Stand Stakes. He was only beaten 4 lengths there by Oxted in the Group 1 over 5 furlongs. He went on to be 6 to Suesa, staying on well in the Group 2 King George over that very fast 5 furlongs. And then he missed the break at Ascot the time after that, so you can forget that. And then last week, he really did come home quite nicely, having looked as if he was really coming to win the race. Then he was just passed before keeping on again in the closing stages. So the extra 110 yards on Saturday at Doncaster, I think he's going to suit him. So with the track and the trip, very much to his liking, as we well know, any amount of rain will be a help to his cause. And he's also drawn in the centre, meaning he'll be able to follow whichever side De Souza decides might be favoured, or he might just decide to go the quickest point from A to B and just head straight down the middle in a straight line. And at the time of this recording, Stone of Destiny offered at 11 to 1 each way, and that is for 7 places with Sky Bet, and that's a really interesting bet. 7 places, 11 to 1. Bet Victor offer 11 to 1 as well, but I think they're going 5 places. Sky Bet offering a very good deal, I think, with the 7 places there for Stone of Destiny at Doncaster in the 145, the Portland Handicap. And then I'll take you to the big race in Britain on Saturday, which is the world's oldest classic, the St. Leger. A truly wonderful race. Great to see it having come back into fashion after a period in the early 2000s when the race really was beginning to lose a bit of its gloss. It's due off at Doncaster at 3:35. 1 mile, 6.5 furlongs is the trip. There are 10 runners, and there is an outstanding candidate here without a shadow of a doubt, and that is the Charlie Appleby-trained Hurricane Lane. It's a bit like deja vu all over again, as Yogi Berra famously said, because last week, you may remember me pointing out that Starman was an outstanding candidate for the Sprint Cup, but he was too short a price to back, and I felt that something might come and beat him. Well, I was right that it was too short a price to back, and something did come and beat him. And I'm wondering if that might be the same here again with Hurricane Lane. He's the horse, once again, that if you had to have all your money on one horse, you'd probably go with him. But he's odds on at 4 to 5. Superb horse trained by Charlie Appleby. There's much debate as to whether he is better than the Derby winner Adair. This horse, of course, ran so well in the Derby, having taken the Dante Stakes. He was 3rd in the Derby. Then he won the Irish Derby. And then he won the Grand Prix de Paris last time out. He stays 1.5 miles well, so you'd have to feel that he probably will get 1 mile and 6 furlongs plus. But you don't know. You only find out when they run into that last furlong, and especially if there isn't any rain. This horse's form has all been on good or softer. So if it is generally good to firm, he may start to be feeling the ground as he stretches out for the first time beyond 1.5 miles and could be vulnerable. I still think he's going to be hard to beat, but I wouldn't want to bet him odds on, and I'd look for one to beat him at an each way price. Now, among the alternatives, well, there are quite a few. Johnny Murtaugh's Ottoman Empire is progressive, and Johnny is such a good trainer. And this one's on a 5-timer, having most recently won the Group 3 Gordon Stakes at Goodwood, beating Sir Lucan of Aidan O'Brien's, who reopposes. Now, the Gordon Stakes is often quite a fair trial for the St. Leger. Aidan O'Brien, who trains Sir Lucan, also trains High Definition, who I've fallen for a time or two this season. I'm not going to go in on him again. He has actually been supplemented, so it does look as if the Ballydoyle team still have faith in this horse, but I'm just not convinced, even though they've got Dettori on him. They've also got the Mediterranean, who ran such a good race to be 2nd in the Great Voltigeur, having always been up there in that Group 2, another very good trial for the Leger. And of course, he went on to finish 4th to Hurricane Lane in France. Mayo Star, not trained by O'Brien, he's trained by Richard Hannon. He was 5th in the Irish Derby, having finished 2nd in the Derby itself to Adair. He went on to win a little maiden race last time out as a bit of an exercise and a confidence booster. And he is the second highest rated horse in the field, I think. So Mayo Star is another one who could run well if he stays. But my choice in this race is a horse called Interpretation, trained by Aidan O'Brien, who of course has a great record in the Leger. And Holly Doyle is on board, the wonderful Holly Doyle. Now this Interpretation is by the late great Galileo, and his dam is from the family of both Dalakani and Daylami. So he's a beautifully bred colt. And we really haven't seen very much of him. He's only ever run 4 times in his life. He was 4th on debut as a juvenile at the Curragh in a decent maiden over 9 furlongs. He's won all 3 starts this year, starting off with a 1.25 mile maiden at the Curragh at the Irish Derby meeting. So they gave him plenty of time, not running him until late June this season. He then went on to win a Leopardstown conditions race over 1.5 miles. So they saw him already as a potential stayer. He won there very easily by 2.5 lengths from a 94 rated rival, and that already put him in the 100+ bracket. And then last time out at Leopardstown, they stepped him up again to just about the Leger trip of 1.75 miles. And he was very impressive. That was in the listed Vinnie Rowe Stakes, another good trial for this race, staying on really strongly to beat Fernando Vici, who is going to reoppose here. And he beat him by 1 3/4 lengths with the decent Taipan held back in 3rd. Now, the things we know about this horse is 1, he's trained by a master trainer. 2, he's got a top jockey on. 3, he stays. 4, he'll handle the ground. And 5, there's every chance that he could still be getting better because he's unbeaten in 3 starts this season. And as they've stepped him up in grade, he's kept on winning. So there could be more to come. And I think at 14 to 1 each way, a general offer at the time of this recording, I think Interpretation has to have a tremendous chance of at least running into the frame. And who knows, if he's close enough to Hurricane Lane going into that final furlong and he's able to put it up to Hurricane Lane, we might find out whether or not the favourite really has the stamina to see it out over this extended trip. So that's the choice. Interpretation, 14 to 1 each way in the St Leger at Doncaster on Saturday at 3:35. And my 4th and final selection for this weekend is over at the Curragh on Sunday. The 4:40 is the Group 1 Irish St Leger, which of course is open to older horses. It's over 1.75 miles. There are 14 runners in a really good renewal this year. The going is forecast good, and the forecast favourite at around 3 to 1, if I recall, is Joseph O'Brien's Melbourne Cup winner of last season, Twilight Payment. Really classy horse, stays well, stays 2 miles, of course. And he was in really good form when he won over course and distance last time out, beating the excellent Princess Zoe. So he does have every chance, and that is Twilight Payment. Now, Joseph also trains a fascinating horse called Baron Sandy. Now, you may not have heard much about this because he's been making a name for himself in Ireland, but he won 7 in a row, this horse, including a good race at Longshire, Group 2 in October of last season. He then won a Group 3 at Navan in April. Then they sent him to America last time out. He won the Group 2 Belmont Gold Cup over 2 miles before actually having a run after that, finishing 5th to Broome over 1.5 miles in the Grand Prix de Saint-Cloud in July. So Baron Sandy, a very good second string for Joseph O'Brien in the Irish St Leger. Now, Johnny Murtagh, who of course has a live candidate in the St Leger at Doncaster, he also runs his Ebor winner, Sonny Boy Liston. Now, he's a very progressive 4-year-old, stayed on really well to win the Ebor over 1.75 miles at York last month. This is a tougher test against better horses, but again, at 4 years old, he could easily still have more to give. But my choice here is Search for a Song, trained by Dermot Weld and the Mount of Ashinor. This mare has a love affair really with this course and distance, and she has won this Irish St Leger for each of the last 2 seasons. And I haven't a shadow of a doubt that her great trainer, Dermot Weld, has had this race in mind for her all season. He's been working back from a 3rd potential win of the Irish St Leger all the way through, and he hasn't raced her too often this season. Last year, she beat Fujairah Prince in this race in good style, and then she went on to be second to Trushan in the mud in the Quipco Long Distance Champions race over 2 miles at Ascot in October. This season, she didn't come out until mid-May, where she was second at Leopardstown over 1.75 miles in a listed race, probably just needed that race to blow away a few cobwebs. And then surprisingly, they dropped her backing trip to just 10 furlongs, where she finished 5th of 8 in the Group 1 Tattersall's Gold Cup to the good horse of Noel Mead's, Helvic Dream, who we haven't seen for a while. That trip wouldn't have been enough for her. She's been given a break since then. She'll be fresh and well. She absolutely loves this course and distance. The ground should be fine for her. And Dermot Well's horses are in form. He's got a 23% winning strike rate of late. And I think at the 6-1 on offer, at the time of this recording, with the likes of Paddy Power and the Betfair Sportsbook, and in the hope there'll be 4 places on offer as well come the day of the race, I think Search for a Song has a huge chance of making it 3 successive victories in the Irish St. Ledger at the Curragh on Sunday. So those are my 4 for you to consider for this weekend on what is a weekend of tremendous racing. And I'll be honest with you, it's been quite difficult to narrow it down to 4 because there were other hot handicaps, both in Britain and Ireland, where there are so many interesting runners. But that's my quartet. Let's hope they run well. I wish you the best of luck. Remember, if you're interested in some shorter price runners, but still decent value, my thoughts are available at our other channel, which is freebets.com, where, of course, we're building up quite a following as well. But here at Sportsbet TV, great to have had you with us. And remember, if you haven't already done so, to press the subscribe button. I'll be back next weekend with more recommendations. Bye-bye for now.